Thank you very much. Welcome again at this United Kingdom lesson. First of all, I would like to excuse my dear guests if I talk Franco-Arabian because it's easier for the audience if I speak a little bit Arabic in between. I will try my best not to speak if I speak, so don't. Now, the ultimate goal, definitely, of any MS therapy is the prevention of long-term disability. We know that disability happens in two forms, either the relapse associated worsening or the progression which is independent of relapse activity. And currently, this PIRA is receiving a great deal of attention and explanation. Until recently, progression independent of relapse activity was regarded as a marker of secondary progressive disease. Even if you see this slide, which we all use, you can see that whenever we start having PIRA, then this is the beginning of secondary progressive disease. And as if in the relapse and remitting stage, there is no PIRA, as if there is only relapse associated worsening. But this was until 2016, when we had this brain definition of PDSS4 and pyramidal function 2. And then things started to change. 2017, when 𝐬𝐩𝐸𝐵 and his colleagues discovered in the Tysabri observational program in a group of PDSS 3.5 that 2/3 of the disability is actually PIRA. Following this, also 𝐬𝐸𝐸 in the analysis of the 𝐬𝐩𝐸1 and 𝐬𝐸𝐸2 showed that between 80 and 90% of disability progression is PIRA, not relapse associated worsening, and this group of patients was PDSS 2.5. So we're starting to discover that the progression independent of relapse activity, which is a marker, an old marker of the secondary progressive disease, is occurring very early in relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And the paper, the famous paper by Professor 𝐬𝐩𝐸𝐿, silent progression, in which they state that long-term worsening is common and it's independent of relapses and can even happen in patients with a pro-EDSS and are fully functional. This recent paper by Professor Lublin, February 2022, again in analysis of 27,000 patients and 22 clinical trials, a retrospective analysis of course, showed that in the real-world setting, and the PIRA is more than the relapse-associated worsening, but not the numbers we saw in the trials. The relapse-associated worsening was about 27%, while the PIRA was about 47%. This is another paper published last year, again real-world evidence and retrospective analysis. So we have to differentiate between, when we're talking about the retrospective analysis, there can be errors, and at the same time, in these retrospective analysis, the main marker for disability progression was the EDSS alone, not the composite EDSS, including the hand movement and the ambulation. So in this paper, the real life cohort of the Italian register, there was about 5,169 cases, and also with a follow-up period of about 11 years, and it showed that PIRA amounted for about 27.6%, while the relapse-associated worsening was about 17.8%. And the main driver for the development of PIRA was the older age at the baseline. Again, a recent paper published 2-3 months ago, real-world evidence also, but also a retrospective paper of 1,128 patients in the Catalonia, Barcelona district, showed that 25% developed fire events and a mean follow-up of 7.2 years. 31 of them developed early fire and 51 developed active fire. The older age also was a predictor of fire. And those who had fire early had much more acceleration of reaching a high disability. So it seems obvious that progression starts very early. By the way, the last two papers, the one from Italy and the one from Barcelona, these were early MS and even the first demyelinating event. So we're talking about fire extremely early. So disability starts early. But why don't we detect this? First, all the measurements in the previous papers are motor measurements. EDSS and movement combination. These motor changes, they do not occur early or they are not detected early easily. But there are other parameters that can be detected easily, like cognition, let's say, which occurs very early in the course of relapsing remitting MS, and even in regularly isolated syndrome, as this paper shows, cognitive dysfunction. Now, if we depend also on vision, then we can have changes that could be detected through the OCT. In this paper by our dear friend Thomas Berger, also the correlation between the OCT and FIRA in a group of patients with an EDSS average 1.92, and there was a good correlation, and so we are now detecting FIRA very early. Brain atrophy also can be calculated, and this occurs from the very beginning. So, in order to detect FIRA, we should not be talking only about the nuclear FIRA, we should be talking about other parameters like progression, which occurs very early, like the cognition, like the brain atrophy, like the optic changes. So, if we can measure all these, then we can have sequential evidence of development of progression early in the course of the disease. Now, we detect progression. We know what to treat. We have to treat early. We know that early intervention differs from delayed, differs from no intervention. And even with the very basic intervention, which is treatments, we had good response in delaying accumulation of disability, even transitioning to secondary progressive MS with the basic treatment like the interference, and this is from the MS base in 2019, showing that even with the interference or the first-line injectables, if we give the medication early, we will have a better response than if we give the medication late, which was 5 years here. And this paper by Jacqueline Callas, which is a 10-year prospective, not retrospective, study of 5,000 patients on injectables, showed that even the injectables, they have clinical significant effect, reducing the disability and aided ambulation by 4 years over 10. But they noticed something which we all notice in clinical practice, is that the effect of first-line injectables, they wean by time, they are attenuated. So after a certain time, you don't have the same effect you had at the beginning. So if we use first-line therapy, we can have prevention of disability, yes, but at the same time, we still have a lot of activity in lifetime. If we continue in the first-line therapies, then by time, we will have a large number of patients having walking impairment or even restricted to wheelchairs. So all the evidence now is in favor of that we use this high efficacious medication from the very beginning. And it showed that we have a slower rate of progression if we use this medication, and we have a lower risk of conversion to secondary progressive MS. And again, this is a paper 2019 showing that in comparison, the first-line therapies with the more advanced therapy or more efficacious therapy, there is a 34% reduction in the conversion to secondary progressive MS. This is again from the Swedish and the Danish registries. The Swedish registries in the yellow line, they use high efficacious therapies from the very beginning, while the Danish registries, they use first line when we go to installation first. So there is a difference again to the time of the confirmed disability when we are using the high medication therapies from the beginning. And the important thing is that for these high medications to be effective, they have to be used early. The more early you use them, the more efficacious they are. And this is also from the MS Days 2020, showing that if you use the high efficacious therapy early, less than 2 years, you will have better responses than if you use them after 4 years of diagnosis. Again, this is from the German consensus about the disease-modifying therapies, and they emphasized also that early efficacy medication could be used, but according, of course, to the specific prognostic factors of the patients. Timing of high efficacy medication, this is a new paper also in the Lancet Neurology, showed that in 2 groups of the patients, first 2 years and 4 to 6 years, there is a difference. This is showing that if you use a high efficacious medication, which is the blue line, then you will have delay in the progression. And even if we use all of the patients with the high medication, but one of them late and one of them early, then there is always this gap between using early high efficacious medication and late after highly efficacious medication. So the important thing in choosing medicine is the compromise between the safety, the convenience, the efficacy. These are all important factors. Do all the patients need high efficacious medication? This is the pertinent question. This is why there is the importance of the prognostic factors. Each patient should be assessed individually according to the different prognostic factors. Whether these are the demographic prognostic factors or the MRI prognostic factors or the clinical factors or the biomarkers. And most of the world now is reviving the idea of using prognostic factors, especially with all this economic crisis and all these generics. There is a huge amount of events happening around us. So using prognostic factors and understanding prognostic factors is very important in order to assess who is the patient that needs what. And this is a recent paper by our dear friend Bart from Belgium, using certain items for prognosis and doing a checklist for them, those with better prognosis and those with poor prognosis, the age, vitamin D, smoking, comorbidities, disease type, relapse rate in the first 2 years, the interval between relapses, and the EDSS here, as you can see, he categorized less than 2 and more than 2, not even 3, it's 2. The clinical presentations, whether they are brainstem, cerebellar, spinal cord, cognitive deficits, MRI, gadolinium enhancing lesions, and black holes. So all these are the known prognostic factors, but they put the prognostic factors in the form of a checklist to see which are the good prognoses, which are the bad prognoses. And the biomarkers, of course, whether we can measure the neurofilaments and the OCT. But an important statement in the paper of Bart here and his colleagues is that patients with poor prognosis may not necessarily have a highly active disease. We have to differentiate between the concept of poor prognostic factors and highly active disease. You can have poor prognostic factors in a patient that is not highly active. This is a very important point. Now, what are the unmet needs in therapy? Most of our therapies, they target inflammation. So we have approved medication for relapses associated worsening. The progression independent of relapse activity, which is the PIRA, which is the movie star of the recent 2 years. We're not sure if the medication is working. We are using the same medication, but we're not sure if it's working or it's not working. And of course, we don't have medication for repair mechanism. So in this paper, the Italian paper, they showed, the Italian paper I showed you before, they showed that if we do not treat, then there is a great difference in the PIRA between the treated and the untreated group. But the question is, are we having the same effect as we have on the relapse-associated worsening? The answer is no. If you look at the pooled analysis, this is a very important slide of the 𝐬𝐩𝐨𝐬𝐷, OPER1 and OPER2. You can see, of course, that 𝐬𝐸𝐴 reduced the composite disability progression, definitely. The incidence of PIRA in the 𝐬𝐸𝐴 group is less than the incidence in the interfering group. But here, in the interfering group, the PIRA represents 80% of the composite disability. Here, in the 𝐬𝐸𝐴 group, the PIRA represents 90% of the composite disability population. Very confusing result. What does that mean? يعني الجناح اللي فيه 𝐬𝐸𝐴 فيه PIRA بالنسبة للديسابيلتي population أكثر من الجناح اللي فيه interference. الإجابة بسيطة. إنه الإفكت of 𝐬𝐸𝐴 on the relapse-associated worsening is much greater than its effect on the progression independent of the relapse. And even in these observations, اللي هو when we have most of the disability is PIRA. This does not mean that we have all the 80-90% PIRA, but it could mean in another way that also the medication, whether 𝐬𝐸𝐴, 𝐬𝐸𝐴, whatever, are working less on the PIRA. So when we see the confirmed disability progression at the end of any trial, you have a bigger effect on the relapse-associated worsening and a less effect on the PIRA, so the PIRA appears as if it is very high in the progression. This is a point we have to think about, because the real-world evidence of the incidence of PIRA is much less than these results. But nevertheless, definitely, we have a much less effect on the PIRA, even with the high efficacious therapies, than we have on the relapse-associated worsening. And this is also clear for 𝐬𝐸𝐴, where we can see that only 9% using 𝐬𝐸𝐴 developed relapse-associated worsening, while 24% developed. In the results of the 𝐬𝐸𝐴, there were also good positive results in the PIRA, but again, the total results, they are not as efficacious as they are in the relapse-associated worsening. So, PIRA is still one of the unmet needs in therapy, and we have to evaluate. And I think that the best way to evaluate is if it is possible to study patients who are not treated and the incidence of developing 𝐒𝐻 in them. Of course, this is difficult prospectively. It could be only done retrospectively, but we have problems with retrospective evaluation that even the method of detecting 𝐻𝐻 is only the ESS. Now, for us, because we have all this economic crisis and the problems, so we, the Egyptian Society of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry, and the Egyptian Multiple Sclerosis, they developed this prognostic scale, which you all have been seeing. This is the first version of the prognostic scale. Now there is another version which is in development with a larger number of cases, about 550 cases, and much more sophisticated statistics, so that we have a scoring system and able to use the different types of the medication much more comfortably, so that we don't have to give all the patients medication from the very beginning, or the opposite. We don't have to keep sticking to the first-line therapies until the disability starts to appear. And this was the suggested log in our society's protocol in order not to abuse or in order not to use them. Thank you very much.